Welcome to Hook Connections. We have a very unique guest on today, and it's about a subject that probably a lot of people are not familiar with, and that's TED Talks, and it's just kind of like the indie version of TED Talks. Chris Reed is from Castor Bigger Net. He is actually the founder of Sparks Talk, which is held on the second Wednesday every month at Moondog Tavern on 96th Street. Chris, what in the world is Sparks?
Well, you started very well. That's very nice. You've been to the event, so you've experienced it yourself. But so we wanted to create an event in Indianapolis that happened on a regular basis where people would come that were interested in personal and professional growth. They wanted to grow, and through experiential learning, you call it continuous learning, whatever the case is, we all are doing that. I like to say on our introductory video that we all have a need to connect, learn, and grow. And Sparks is just that. It's a networking event with a show in the middle of it that features 3 timed talks, 2 4-minute talks and a 10-minute talk, and we call that person the headliner. And they're not sales pitches or company pitches. They're their life experience, their inspiration, their motivation, their things that make you think. And
Right.
that's really what we're trying to drive for is a unique experience.
Well, and I've been to a couple of them that were very, very unique, and the subjects were very different. And I
Yep.
know that it got a lot of attention because they were very different. Can you just think off the top of your head, which probably isn't too far because you don't have
in
any
the air.
hair up
Wow,
there.
bad joke already. Yay!
No, just off the top of your head, what is the worst speaker that you've had? What's the worst talk that was done that you can
Well,
remember?
I'm not going to.
You don't have to name any names.
I'm not going to name any names.
Or
but
name the title, but
one of the things that we do at Sparks is we make it very clear. We have a very clear process with our speakers. TED, on the other hand, will spend about 60 to 80 hours with a speaker preparing their talk. And about 3/4 of that time is spent with a personal speaking coach or a public speaking coach. We don't do that. We spend about an hour on average with the people that get on our stage. So like I say, is we give a blank canvas to people to do their performance art on, and we're really experiencing it with the audience, the exact same thing they're seeing, because we understand the talk, we understand the concept around it, and we know what they're trying to achieve, but we don't know word for word what they're going to say. And so sometimes we get good speakers and sometimes we get bad. And one of the things that we really, really try to drive home with all of our speakers is that we will introduce them, they'll give us a written introduction, we will sell who they are and what they do before they ever step on stage. And we had a gentleman about a year ago who came from an enterprise level company, and he was really disconnected. He really didn't understand what he was doing, and he got on stage, and of his 4-minute talk spent about a minute and a half reintroducing himself to the crowd, and then wondered why he was about 45 seconds to a minute long, or was wanting to go that long.
Right.
So people like that aren't taking it really seriously, and we've seen a few of those get through, but we work really hard in order to help those people filter themselves out.
Well, and Chris, I remember, the first time I ever met Chris was probably 6, 7, 8 years ago at a networking event, and he was the first person. I didn't even know how to spell networking then. I probably did, but I didn't anyway. But Chris and I met for a 1-to-1 meeting just to kind of learn about each other's business, and he actually took a genuine interest in what I did at the meeting, at the meeting that we had. So I've known you for a long time, and I know the networking part is very valuable, and people can grow their business by building strategic relationships with other people.
Right.
What made you start Sparks?
Well, I was hosting an after-hours networking event that was a happy hour, which is the same kind of thing as Sparks. Is it's an after-hours event. There's cocktails involved in conversation, and what I realized is that it was really hard to get Type A personalities once they had a cocktail to focus for a little bit on the content that we were trying to put in the middle of it. And so after about 4 years of doing it, I can't believe it, but this will be 7 years that I've been doing some kind of a networking event. It's kind of crazy that it's been that long, but I'm old. The idea is to try to create something that people would want to focus on. instead of just mandatory, we gave you the room, we gave you the opportunity to network and connect, now you need to give us a little bit of your time. It was something that's truly wanted to focus on, as well as by videotaping the content and putting it out on the web so people could rewatch it. We were trying to engage them, just like you would with a live studio audience here, is participate, be engaged. You're the backdrop for this show, so
right.
Focus up, put your phones on silent, and listen for a little bit.
Right. And it's hard for people to do.
It is.
It's hard for people to put their phones down. Yeah.
Me too.
Especially you. This is Captain Selfie here, who is in every picture on the internet.
That's funny.
So what is you mentioned the format of the Sparks event with networking, and are the 4-minute speakers just a mini talk, the same as the 10-minute speakers? Are they usually focused on something different? Are they life stories, or what's the difference between when you're going and interviewing these people that are going to come and talk between the 4-minute and the 10-minute?
Well, there isn't a lot of difference in between them other than the length of time, but what we're looking for is the type of talk that they're going to give, and then program them against each other so that we don't have 3 people all telling a motivational story that night. We're looking for contrasts. Like last month, we put Mike Corbett, who's running for mayor of Noblesville in the May primary, and he was our headliner. And so we told Mike that he couldn't talk about vote for me. He couldn't do that for 10 minutes, but what he could talk about was the challenges and problems that suburban towns have, and that they're all up against universally. And it was a challenge for him because he's trying to campaign, he's trying to get the word out, he needs people to know to vote for him. But the reverse of that helps people understand where he's coming from and his solutions that he'll provide. But what we did was we programmed Kim Stoneking, who's a really brilliant guy, funny guy, and a business coach, to talk a 4-minute talk right before him. And his talk was titled "Politicians Are People Too." Well, almost. And he basically
I bet that was good.
He poked fun at politicians by showing quotes, stupid idiot quotes that they had given over the years, and talked about them, related them, and then Mike got up and talked a very serious talk about what we're all up against as a struggle. So it was really cool that all worked out that way.
Together,
Well, I mean, but it's also kind of serendipitous that
absolutely.
we understand it, but yet we don't know the content, so we have to. The magic kind of happens, but we throw the stuff in the pot and hope it tastes good when it comes out.
Right.
Probably end up being a good speech from him.
It was,
since it's something outside of his comfort zone.
Yeah, it was. It was really good.
We would like to thank Walford Theaters and Logan Street Signs and Banners for being our sponsor, especially, and our guests for being on. We need to take a short break, and we will be back after this exciting commercial.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage: Logan Street Signs and Banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event, or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters, with a laid back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
to Hook Connections. We are here with Barb Hook, who is the CEO of Hook Connect. I am Gina Scott Hawkins of Star Media Group, and we have our special guest today, which is Chris Reed. He is the founder of Sparks and also several other different things, but today we're here to focus on Sparks. And so the last segment we were talking a little bit about what Sparks is and how the talks are formatted. But one of the things that I noticed is that when they're doing the talks, there's a big counter that's on the screen, and there's this big projection screen. And can you explain to us why you guys use those tools?
Well, it's really simple because people don't focus and people don't pay attention. And so we wanted to create talks that were short, they were timed, and the Moondog Tavern afforded us those two screens, and so we realized, like from the onset, that we were going to use one of them for the PowerPoint. Let's use the other one for a timer, because face it, there's just so much coming at us in the world that I think most of us have some level of ADD, that we wanted people to be able to focus. And I've loved to go do karaoke forever. And one of my favorite karaoke DJs when I was starting out would always say to the audience that when they're done, you're going to clap because you're glad they sang. You're going to clap because you're glad it's over with. But either way, you're going to clap.
Right.
And so we instructed the audience every Sparks that when the counter hits 0, to clap them off the stage.
Okay.
So that they know that they're done at the end. It's what we call a hard stop talk. They don't have a chance to take another 10 seconds of your ear. And so we really tell people to make sure that they practice, but also to self-edit themselves if they see themselves coming down to 10 seconds or 12 seconds, to know what they need to say in order to wrap it up and thank the people for their time. That way they look like rock stars every time.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
So along with that, where do you get the speakers that you use for these events?
Well, in the early days, we begged and we chased people down. And now we've been doing almost 3 years, and so we're really blessed that almost every event leads us to 4 to 5 more speakers.
Okay.
And right now we're booked into like September.
Wow.
So we're programming for September. We should be done with the year probably in another month or so. And we've got some really cool people that are coming from out of state even because they want to be on this stage because they've heard about it. I've got a guy that contacted me from New Hampshire, and when he contacted me, I thought this was just a joke, but the guy actually is trying to get on the TED stage, and he needs to be seen publicly, speaking, and so he wants to fly out and do a Sparks talk for us. So and I was like, "When are you going to be in town?" He's like, "Oh, I'm not. I'm just going to come in whenever you schedule me for." I'm like, "Really? That's pretty awesome." So
wow. So
You know what my
really
favorite
making
one
it-
is still, though, Chris, is the crock pot in the microwave.
yeah. Her second talk, her 10-minute talk was equally as fun. But
Yeah, I watched that too on the video.
you enjoyed it. That's
Yeah,
good. She's I'll apologize, I'm blanking on her name, and she's going to kill me if she watches this, but from Tim's place. Oh my goodness.
Trust Point.
Thank you, but I can't remember her name. Amy Woodall does this talk about how men are microwaves and women are crock pots. Talking about communication between men and women, but she relates it back to the euphemism of that. And it's just really entertaining. It's a really entertaining talk. So yeah.
Okay. So again, how often do you have these events?
Once a month.
Okay.
Always the second Wednesday of each month.
And they're at Moondog Tavern. And what is the cost for people to attend?
It's free. It's
Really?
free. Yeah, we make it free through sponsorship. Our sponsors help us offset the costs, and we want to create a community. And so a lot of people, like about 30% of the room, 40% of the room, have never been there before, and they're checking it out for the first time. And because we don't tell people who the speakers are and what they're going to talk about, they're genuinely coming with curiosity about what they'll experience. And the psychology of it is simple. The lower your expectations, the better your result is.
Yeah.
And so everybody just has this universal, wow, I'm so glad that I came. I'm really glad I experienced this for myself. I really can't
It's
wait
like
to come back.
potluck. You
Has
never know what
anyone
you're
had
gonna
any
get.
real aha moments after they heard a speaker? I mean, come up and said something to you like that?
Yeah, I've had a lot of really great feedback over the years from people, but it's like nothing really stands out per se, but it's always that person with this smile on their face. It's like, oh my gosh, I really didn't know what to expect, and I'm so glad that I was here, and I can't wait to tell my friends and come back. And I, there's probably 10 people that have probably hardly ever missed a show, and I always check in with those people afterwards to say, so how'd we do? And they're like, oh my gosh, this was really good, and it's like when you see the same person every month go, man, better than last month, you're like going, how does this get better for anybody? But it's really awesome. That
And it
does.
wasn't long ago I was the counter at the door.
Oh, I remember that.
yeah?
That was funny.
Oh my God, it was people were walking walking in, and then I had to remember them when they went out to the bathroom and come back in. It was a riot.
So how many people are usually at these events?
Well, for the last 12 months, we've averaged over 120 people
Wow.
per month. Our record is 145 or 146.
So it must be a pretty big room that you
Yeah,
use.
fire marshal says it's around 140.
Okay. All right.
So we
So
push
less
that.
than that. You
We
have
push
less than
that a
that.
little bit because it's standing room, and then everybody sits down and stuff like that. But we're real conscious about how many people we put in there. We want people to be comfortable. But the tighter it is to the room, the better the energy is. If
Sure.
there was only a few people in a really big room, it wouldn't feel like as exciting of an event. to
And there's
be at.
also food served.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, they have great food there.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that the talks, because you're able to offer the guests to come in for free, that you secure sponsorships for the event.
Right.
So how would people get involved with becoming a sponsor?
Talk to me.
Okay.
That's usually how the conversation goes. They'll contact myself and inquire, and we've got a kind of a sponsorship overview.
Okay.
It's kind of platinum, gold, silver, bronze, pretty simple, that kind of a thing. And it all has to do with the amount of exposure that we give them on the website and throughout the show and
Okay.
before the show and signage at the event and,
Okay.
just different ways in which to get their brand out, which, to be honest with you, that's kind of the reason why we created it, was because everybody's running from commercials, but yet what they're wanting is a personal experience. So you go on Facebook if you've got 20 minutes to kill, because you want to see what's funny to you, and I want to laugh with you, even though we're so separated by geography for that moment. And so we're grabbing these people and we're pulling them together, and we're saying, let's experience something together, and they're laughing together and they're crying together, and then we insert a brand impression at the same time that they're welcome to, because they realize that by experiencing that brand impression, that commercial, if you will, that's how they got their free ticket to it. And so they're just, it's really an interesting experience for both the sponsor and for the attendee at that point.
Okay. Well, we've got a lot of listeners that are going to be listening on the radio. So can you share with them your contact information and the best way to get a hold of you?
Sure. It's Chris Reed. If you come through sparkstalk.com, there's various ways in which to get to me, but it's sparks@sparkstalk.com is the email address, or chris@castabigger.net, which is a mouthful and a half to explain, but chris@castabigger.net. Exactly.
Is there a phone number?
Yeah, it's 317-218-7990.
Okay. Yeah, because we have this show will be on the radio for the next Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So
That's
on
great.
Hamilton County Radio.
That's
A
awesome.
lot of opportunities for people to hear about it and get involved. We want to thank again our sponsors, Logan Street Signs and Banners and the Wofford Theater, for allowing us to be here today. We are going to take a quick break, and we'll
Absolutely.
be back here in just another moment.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage: Logan Street Signs and Banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7800. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows theater. Classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out. Call today to reserve our theater, or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters, with a laid atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
Welcome back to Hook Connections. It's always great to get Captain Selfie on the TV show because he loves to have his picture taken.
There you go.
You know, I think we should pose. Okay, Gina. Okay,
Let's take a selfie.
Captain Selfie.
That's awesome. I should say that before I leave. Definitely.
I got a question for you, Chris. Who was your absolute favorite speaker that you've ever had? I don't care if it was a 4-minute or the 10-minute. Who was your favorite speaker?
Well, my favorite talk of all time so far, and there's been a lot of them, over 100 now, is Tim Roberts' talk. He was the headliner. He was probably like our 5th or 6th headliner, so it was over 2 years ago. And it was the event before the national election, and so the title of his talk was 27 Days Till the Morning After. And it was really he's a brilliant speaker, and we kind of put it in his head, the idea of what to talk about was the idea of what it would be like for the nation after that election. I think that was 2012. And the opening line was, on the day after, there will be glorious praise and there will be gnashing of teeth. And it was just the visual that he put up on the screen at the same time was hysterical. And so it was really funny to watch him basically tell both sides of the aisle equally that they're disrespecting each other by not caring why they think what they think, but just not that you don't think the way I think, kind of a thing. And the proof was in the pudding that the most conservative, right-winged person that I know walked up to me right afterwards and goes, "I didn't get that at all." And I went, "Exactly."
You know, I attended one that was so very inspiring to me. And it doesn't have to be something to educate you, but when Scott Wise talked about what he had been through, there was not a dry eye.
Everybody connected with him very well.
In the entire place. Yeah. And for anyone that doesn't know, he owns Scotty's Brew House. But anyway, you know, so the inspiration you get, sometimes don't give up and it'll all work out, and you just got to have faith. And some of those things we tend to forget sometimes, you know. Right.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
So,
good point. Good point.
What is the formula for a good Sparks talk? I mean, you've talked about that you have a formula, but what is the formula, the actual formula? If I come to you and I say, I want to talk.
So, one, it's something that's kind of universal. Something that someone all can get something from, no matter what it is, even though it's specific. And then because all of us are either auditory, visual, or kinesthetic, a mix of both. So it's that mix of what you're actually going to talk about and then what you put on the screen. I've seen some really bad PowerPoints and I've seen some really cool things done. But because we use PowerPoint, it's kind of, you can't do a lot of things that you might want to do. We don't allow videos to be played because of copyright issues and things like that. But it's kind of a blend of that. And so I think then it's stories and illustration. Like one of my favorite experiences was when Lisa McDonald, I think you were there. Lisa McDonald is a brilliant career coach, and she's also a speed talker. She can talk really fast, and you can, it's like, what the hell? She talks about the 3 legs of the stool of gratitude, how we need more gratitude in our lives. And in the middle of this talk, there's this picture on the screen of a lush green lawn with a Great Dane pitching a loaf in it. I mean, literally taking a dump. And the whole, as soon as this comes up on the screen, the whole place erupts in laughter. But what she says is that I challenge you to see poop as an opportunity in your life, which is, a nice way of saying it, right? But for 6 months afterwards, people would walk up to me and go, "Hey, are you still seeing poop as an opportunity?" and we'd have a laugh together at Marsh or at Kroger or wherever we were. And that's the point of what Sparks is really for me, is that creation of a stored experience for people that will resonate past that, because life's happening so fast and it just doesn't happen like that all the time.
And the communication skills aren't really personal anymore. Tiffany and I talked about that on the show, last week. So
tell us about this light bulb.
Well, it's an idea, right? And so my concept around Sparks was just that. It was trying to come up with a concept of branding and how to get people to realize what we were trying to do at Sparks. And I keep thinking about this thing lighting up over someone's head because they have a really great idea. And so the original Sparks light bulb was a piece of Microsoft clip art. And it was because I had to create this on the fly, and I was trying to put a proof of concept together, and I didn't have any money. That's really the answer. And so we basically grabbed a piece of Microsoft clip art that was, that's not wrong to do that, but you can't you can't do a lot of things with it and legally own it. And so, like about after the first event, I went down to a storage locker that I had in my basement and opened up the door and found this 2-foot tall light bulb that is a knockoff of what's in front of me today, that I had bought 10 years earlier and was sitting there gathering dust. It's plastic, it looks exactly like that, and we put it on a stage and it lights up yellow just like this one does. But I was just like, whoa, because it had come out of my head, the back of my head, but yet I had it in storage all this time. I bought it like 10 years before at a garage sale thinking, I'll make a lamp out of it, it'll be funny, So that's kind of how the light bulb came about.
Very cool.
Wow. So and I was at the 2-year anniversary, I believe, last year. Is there anything, it's going to be 3 years old here soon. Is there anything special that you have planned?
Man, we have so much special stuff coming. For June 10th is our 3-year anniversary, and we hope that you'll join us. I really can't talk about it in detail, but it's kind of like season 4. It's the beginning of season 4 for us, our 4th year, and so we're really got a lot of really cool stuff that's coming out, and it's been really interesting to see how it's happened because I set the intention at the beginning of 2015 that by the end of the year, that in 2016 we would be prepared to license someone in another market to do a Sparks event, and we would propagate ourselves to Chicago, New York, wherever it is that we wind up with our first event somewhere else. So we're working through the process. We have been for 3 or 4 months now on all the things we're going to have to do in order to be able to support that person outside the market. And because of that, I've been being introduced to all these really cool people that really get what we're doing, love the concept, and want to help. That I would have been able to go, I need to meet this person because they're going to do such cool things for us, So it's just blowing my mind. Sorry, but that'll be really cool. So probably in a month, we'll start announcing some of the things that you'll expect.
Well,
to
maybe
see.
I'll donate more Whamfest tickets. Only this time we'll hope to find
There you go. I would love to give away more Whamfest tickets.
Yeah.
That was fun.
It's really a different situation to do networking events where you have to go every single week and you have to pay a fee and you're forced to give a referral, and it's not necessarily you're not forced to build relationships where relationships can be built from people that you see on a regular basis in a casual event. And I have met so many people at Sparks. I can't remember the gal's name, but the lady that sells never mind.
When you go because you want to and not because you feel obligated,
Absolutely,
you get much
absolutely.
more out of the deal.
And every time I
that's a
go,
good way
we
to
have
say
a
it.
storm.
Yeah.
It almost always storms when I'm up there. It's just a really strange thing. So, we have to cut off for today. Thank you, Chris, for being our guest. Next week we will have a restoration company here to give you some tips on what you should do in the spring and to talk about mold. And I may even do a session on that because I've been living with it since May. So tune back next week with us, and this will be available in a couple days on YouTube on the Hook Connect channel.